Let's see how serious you can take Hooded Jamie for the buy, hold, risk and sell for round 12. Obviously, guys, make sure you do go and back and check that best team for round 13 and round 14. Any of the guns that I mentioned in that top 13 or the 17 there in those 2 weeks are going to be good purchases this week. And then following that, I just wanted to go through a few of the guys that I haven't really gone through on a regular basis, or not in a little while, since we've had a bit of an update on some of their scores. And that's Reed Marnie, I've spoken about a little bit, but just wanted to continue to focus on his consistency in this 80-minute hooking role for the doggies there, and showed that he was the best option for the next few rounds there, especially as a dogs player with the schedule they've got. But the best hooker that you can buy that isn't going to play Origin. So that is Reed Marnie with a 52.7 average, priced at 50. So he's actually gone a little bit lower in his previous sort of 5 weeks there, 44, 47, 49, 53, and 54. A couple of his biggest scores came between round 3 and 5. So that's where the price bumped up and the average bumped up, and that's dropped down just a little bit. So on his average for the season, you're getting him at a slight discount, and he'll be a really good hooker to purchase this week, next week, or even potentially round 14, because you still get him for the round 14 clash. You get him for the 16 clash, the 17 clash, and then 20 as well, and then for the rest of the year. So Wood is a keeper for the year and second or third best option, I think, overall, which is a great one to own in your side. Damien Cook next on the list for the hookers, a 688k. I don't think he'll be in Origin. Yes, he's had a little bit of a odd few weeks there previously, a 25 or 36 when he moved to fullback for part of it. And then the last 2 weeks, he's gone 57 and 64. So he didn't go the 80 minutes on the weekend, but 68, and really got involved and got some good stats. And if you're looking at the teams that he'll be coming up against in the next 4, it's Para, it's Titans, it's Broncos, and it's Manly. I really think across those games, he should be able to get the odd attacking stat, get good defensive numbers, and be a really important player for this team. So he's the slightly cheaper option that, yes, misses 13, but he plays 14, 15, 16, so and 19 as well, which is an important one that Reed Marnie doesn't play. So a really good combination with him, for example, there. Damien Cook. Aaron Clark, we wanted to have a little bit of a chatter around him, just with Jamin Jolliffe and the situation with him being out for 12 weeks now, 3 months. So a lot of these guys have a really terrific run. And if you're looking at Clarkie now, he was the main benefactor for Jolliffe's injury. So he came on, he ended up playing off the bench, guys, and played the majority of his minutes through the middle, obviously, there. So 47 for him in 52 minutes. We know what he can do in that middle running role. There's only some games that he ends up playing that. He got 39 in 42 minutes in round 8 when he got well over 100 meters at 138. He then went back to 82 and 86 in decent efforts, 40 and a 30. Obviously, the 40 was better, but that one included a couple of turnover tackles, which was a bit much. But for him to go really well and get mid to high 40s, 50s even, he needs to be playing 50 minutes. And that was his highest minute game of the year. And that's without Jolliffe being there, for one, and without Tino there as well. So Jolliffe was the one that stepped up into that bigger minute role. And I do think that Aaron Clark, as a hooker/mid for this week, is probably a good calculated gamble, to be honest with you, because you miss him for 13, obviously, and if that's not of need for you, then sweet, then you can just have him sitting there. He's not too expensive to be an issue for your side, so that's cool. And then for Clarkie, you would get him for 14, 15, 16, misses 17, but plays 19, 20 as well, and then he's done for buys for the year. But by that point, I think you would have eventually moved him on for sure. But I definitely think that minutes-wise, we know what he can do in sort of over 50-minute efforts across his career, whether it's hooker, whether it's in the mids. It's a 43 average with a lot of hooker games in there. Let's give it the interchange, which is likely where he's going to come from. 51.8 minutes average for a 49 points in efforts there. So the odd low one, a 22, so be prepared for that too, but also be prepared for the 50 and 60s there as well. In starting lock, he's a point a minute 55. So definitely a calculated gamble with the amount of guys they have out. Obviously, with their 13 in Cleese Haas, not going to be an 80-minute guy. Bahulu in the start, not going to be a massive minute guy either. Is Verrills going to play massive minutes at 9? I'm not exactly sure. So Aaron Clark, a very interesting option for your sides and one I wouldn't push you away from. Sam Verrills, 395k in the hooking role now. Obviously, the last couple of weeks where he's got good minutes in that spot, it's been 56 and 48. The issue is what happens when Tanner Boyd comes back, which, is that enough minutes for Verrills? I think in this scenario, the safer player to go for is Aaron Clark at 100k more expensive. Yes, he's more expensive, but longevity, safety in this role, I think that's where you need to go. So Verrills, like I said a couple of weeks ago, it would be definitely a risk. Less of a calculated risk right now, just because of the amount of games it will take for Boyd to come back. And we got Foran back as well, so things might move around as in that situation also. And Randall could move back to 9 very, very quickly, which would hurt. So, yeah, that's the thoughts with Verrills. So that's 7, 9. Basically, wherever you can play big minutes, whether it's 7, whether it's 9, whatever that is, 6, then, that's in a little bit of strife right now. So that's the hooking position done. You could look at Brandon Smith if you want, but I don't think many people will go back into buying him. He's an easy hold. Maxi King is 659. Obviously priced at 47 there and has a break even of 39, so it's nothing crazy. Average for the year of 49. In this one here, obviously, the last couple of weeks went a bit low. 35, 36, into a 52 point a minute, into a 65 in 62 minutes. So we have seen him play upwards of 60 minutes twice this year for a 57 and a 65 point effort. Last week, that did include 4 missed tackles, but it was the 46 makes that was massive for him. And we saw last year when I owned him for the back half of the year, anytime he got good minutes, he saw a 64 point effort in 62 minutes in round 27 last year. But a lot of the rounds before that, he was getting mid 40s minutes. He was playing off the interchange. He's clearly their best prop. And when that's the case, we should expect him to get mid 40s to early 50s. And there were a few games there. It looks like he must have been carrying a bit of an injury in the back end of the season as to why he ended up on the bench, because he's by far their best prop at the moment. And we saw at the start of last year, he began with 50-odd minute games, 60-minute games, and he picked up 40s, 50s, and 60s on the points front. So a really good purchase this week, an awesome one for myself, trading Jolliffe. They can go straight to him as my third mid for round 13, and obviously 14, 16. It's a very helpful trade that covers a lot of positions. But try not to overload too much on Dogs players. Like for me personally, that'll give me 3. Hughes, Karaz, and then Max King. So yeah, check that out for yourself and what's best for you. Hopgood, he's highly brought in this week. I think he's 1% brought in out of the mids, and for good reason. He's scoring really, really well, and he's a terrific player. But I think there's a high chance he makes Origin. Again, that's just my opinion. Let me know what your opinion is, and if you don't think that he's going to play Origin, then grab him in your side. But yeah, completely up to you on that one there. With Hopgood, he's such a tremendous player. He's gone 59, 58, 68 over the previous 3 and only has 3 scores in the 40s, and he has ability to go 70 plus. So if he doesn't make Origin, I think I'll be clearly looking to target him in that round 13 clash, that's for sure. Does miss 16 and 20 though, so keep that in mind. Jack DeBellin, the other mid to look at, a bit more expensive than Maxi King at 720k, but at this stage of the week, he's named at 13, and we know that when he gets to start in any capacity, he seems to score well. And just this year alone, he had 40 and 57 minutes of prop, which wasn't ideal. No running in that front for some reason, just a 41 meters, but he's been back up over 100 every week since round 3. So he went 46 in the next one, 57 in the next start, 56 in the one after that, and then 54 in round 10, which was really helpful there. And if you're interested in him, obviously he has had 2 tries in that time. Tackle numbers were really down in that Rabbitohs clash, but there was a decent amount of points there on him. That they had the ball a fair bit too, but up against sort of Canterbury, you've got Penrith and Tigers and Manly the next 3 weeks. I think that he could definitely tackle a plenty and score pretty well. But yeah, is Max King just a better option for your side? He could be. Scott Sorensen, mid and edge duel there, 578k. He's in a position where he's lost a fair bit of cash, right? He started the season at 683, and since that scenario, he's gone down plenty with a couple of knee issues. That's probably the big thing with him. In a very similar situation to that of Lemuelu. Lemuelu is a bit cheaper. Sorensen is a bit more of a lock in this side, but they've also got Garner that can come in and take some minutes as well, and he's been given a rest this week. Does Garner end up back on the bench? That's probably something you need to ask yourself. And can Sorensen get back to those early 50s numbers that he was getting last year? And if that's the case, he's going to make some money. He's going to cover 2 positions in mid and edge. He's going to play 13, 14, 17, and 20, which are all really, really helpful numbers. And he's already got through 1 bye. So he's someone that could end up as a keeper for you if things go right for him. He looked much better on the weekend in that return game, which I'm looking at 2023. That return game, he got 26 in 33 with a try assist there. Still had an error, still had 3 missed tackles. So, the missed tackle numbers are up a little bit, 3 and 4 across each of the 4 games. He has 1 good score of 54 in there in that 80 minutes. And if he can get 80 minutes again, he will be awesome. But there's questions around that. Maxi Plath at 640. I had him as a 4th best options in the mid there. He can obviously cover half as well at 640k. Was doing great things until obviously that concussion affected 38 minutes. I think the rest probably helped him, because considering he went, obviously upon return from his hip drop tackle, he went 71 minutes, 66, and then 80 minutes across those 3 games. So looked like he was just getting a rest in that game. Hopefully he goes back to a 55 or so minute role, and in that case would still be a really solid purchase this week, Maxi Plath. So a little bit of worries around those minutes and where he's going to play. 13 and edge, or just 13. There's a few things there, but I still think that he's a good purchase to have. Joshy Curran at 604k. He's in a interesting boat given he's not scoring terrifically well. Last week was good, a 51 in 56, thank goodness. With that 1 missed tackle, I said that would drop against a slightly easier side. And I do think against the Dragons this week, he can have a similar type of output. If he can get a 50-odd minute role again, that would be awesome. But he did start at second row last week. And look, there's every chance he goes back to that 44-minute role that he had the 2 weeks before. But in any case, either way, you should be holding him in your side. He's not a buy. He's an easy hold. Joe Tarpane, 675k. So I had him as the 3rd best mid option. It's him. It's Max Plath, sort of that 3 and 4 kind of range, along with Maxi King. But for Tarps there, he did return with 51 minutes. So a little bit of improvement on the 2 45-minute clashes there. And with the 47, that didn't include any offloads. It had 32 tackles, 158 meters with an error in the 2 missed tackles, 3 tackle breaks. So it was a pretty... Wow. I didn't realize that. That's the highest tackle break number of the year for him this year. So he hasn't had that boom game like he had in the All-Stars game either. So it's definitely something that could come. And if he can get back to that 50-odd minutes, he'll be in an astute purchase, because we know what he's like across bye periods. From sort of round 10 last year, he crushed it. 53, 60, 43, 75, 51, 40, 51, 85, and 69 across the bye period. So very, very impressive, and he could definitely do that again. He's due a try, that's for sure. He's due some type of tacking stats, some offloads, and some good tackle break numbers would be nice. But it's weird it doesn't happen for him at a general rate across the season. Jacob Laban, so he's being brought in by about 1% of teams this week. Obviously, the cheap price, the lower break even, coming off the bench. I'm not too sure if it's the best selection here, given Murata Niokore is back as well, but he looked good last week for 49 and 52. Just be aware that there's a few guys that are coming back, and you've got Tohu Harris to return as well. He may be off that bench in round 14 when Tohu's back, and Murata's playing good minutes again. Moving to the edge, you've got Eli Gatoa as a really terrific buy for the season. You're buying him now as a keeper. He only misses 2 more games for the rest of the season in round 13 and round 19. And you can see here his scores are absolutely terrific. So the last few weeks have been awesome with a try in each of them, 63 and 69. He had a 33 low with 4 missed tackles, got under 100 meters. But games before that, 56, 71 is another 74, another 34. So a little bit up and down, obviously, but that rounds out to a 55 average. And if you can get that on a weekly basis, you'll be absolutely cheering from him. The next guy as a keeper is obviously Ewan Aiken, who I got last week. So just wanted to shout him out again. Edge and center duel. Wish he got that try last week. Wasn't to be. All the line break and all the rest. And that would have put him up into that mid-50s. And everyone's like, oh, he's crushed it. But 48, hilarious. Since I bought him, that's the tied lowest. I thought it was going to be worse. I could have bought him round 2, I suppose. But for his 45. But do expect some games in the 50s, some games in the 60s, and then high 40s for him. So really, really good running meters. That was the most of his year, and had no missed tackles. So there was definitely some positives in there as well. and he's 22% owned now in the top 5K. Justin Matamua. So he's been named a 13 this week. It'll be the third 13 in 3 weeks for the Tigers. They also have a bye next week as well. I think with Matamua, you can easily wait and watch. He got 26 in 33 minutes in round 6 this year, which was cool to watch for him. Good to see him out there, but he's never played more than 43 minutes there. And that was the last game of last year where he got a few, obviously with a bunch out, got a few extra minutes. But I don't think he's going to play big minutes, even if he was to start. If it happens, I think you can wait, watch, and then grab him in round 14, to be honest with you, as an edge in that situation. But until I see that, I think you can't buy him at the moment. He's had too many times he's been close to this side and then not actually being used as an option. Oh, good. Lem still hasn't got the correct scoring there. Okay. See, it's always, the last 2 years have been a bit strange with him. Anywho, he ended up getting named. What did he do? He started in the second row. Those last 2 games got 45 and 57. He's been named on the bench. It's a little bit annoying. He's a tick over 500k, like I think it was at 510. He's definitely someone you could potentially grab. There's obviously some risk attached to that with Connolly, but he plays all 3 of those major buys and has attacking upside and looked incredible on the weekend there, picking up 4 tackle breaks, which was great. The line break and try assist. Did have 6 missed tackles, so you'd hope to clean that up. But yeah, Connolly was really, really good. KO weeks at 424k. He was terrific last week. He just seems to be accumulating stats incredibly easily. Had bigger kick meters, had bigger tackle numbers there. Picked up a turnover tackle, got a line break, got a try assist, got a bit of everything. He needs to be in your side. He obviously plays the next 2 games. By that point, he'll be well over 520, 30k. And yeah, as I said, needs to be in your side. Get him in. Ty Wishart, I find is a very interesting one. I think he's a good purchase this week. Given he's likely to have a couple of months in this team, you probably get him from now all the way through until either round 18, or you can wait and use him for round 20 and then go from there. And he misses 2 games across that period in round 13 and in round 19 as well. So Wishart at 382k. He scored really well in his halfback appearances. Will it change at 5/8? Potentially. It did in round 2 last year, but he looks like a better player. Defensively, he's been much better as well. He's got a 4 missed tackle effort, making 34. He's got a 4 missed tackle again, making 20, and then 1 missed tackle last week against the Eels. It was really, really helpful for a low score of 45 with 2 tries, a 65 and a 66. Definitely will be solid. I think you can expect probably a 40 average out of him, and he could definitely make 10 points of value in that time and cover wing fullback and half. Does that suit your side? I'm not sure, but you can make that decision. Jack Cole this week, got 32 last week. I think last week was the time to buy him. Feels a little bit late, and obviously only made 1k. But at this point now, does he keep this spot when Snyder comes back? Probably not. I do think it's maybe 4 weeks. Sorry. What do we got here? Yeah, maybe 4 weeks you get him, and then Snyder's back in that Cowboys one at worst, I think. Otherwise, you might lose him in that Newcastle game. So again, if you do need a half, surely you've got Weeks and those guys. If you want someone for 13, 14, then Cole could work, but not super excited by it. Now, last week it was more the play. Whiten, 408k, half and centre duel. So that's helpful, obviously, having that Strange duel there. The Ethan Strange, no pun intended, I should say. But price at 29 there for him. Yes, a 6, we know he's a better scorer, but it might be 10 points of value at best if the team started to play really well. But we know Walker's going to be in control a lot. And you know Latrell's going to be in plenty of control as well. He played, he hasn't scored anything above 34 in 6 weeks. He's had 1 good score in this entire season. So I just can't pick him up now, but I think you can watch this week and have a look, see what happens for round 14. Dylan Brown, I've got as the best half. I just wanted to mention him again. Yes, Moses is coming back soon, but in the meantime, his scores are tremendous and will continue to do that until Moses returns. And I think he'll go back to a 50 average. So you might lose a tick on him, but not enough for it to be not a buy if you do need a half. Tolu Kola, 474k for him. Played really well last week. Apparently copped a unfortunate AC joint injury. I'm not sure how much it's going to hamper him. NRL physio, not sure as much either. But it definitely will hamper him a little bit on those swinging plays I was saying when they get jammed in and get hit in the shoulders, for example. But we know that, at least with him, at fullback, the work rate's going to be there. He's going to get the odd tackle break, the odd offload, and I think that'll be enough for him to still score well. So if you want to jump on now, go for it. you then will get about, minimum 4 games out of him. That's the thing. But if trades are a bit scarce in your scenario and you don't want to hold him when he goes back to center, then maybe avoid. Blake Talangi, probably again, if you haven't bought him yet, he's likely to be a guy that you only purchase if you have a lot of trades left, because he's likely that you're going to have to get rid of him in 4 weeks time or whatever that is for Blaze, maybe even 2 weeks. Like if Gutho comes back and Blaze just goes straight out of this side, they could play Gutho at center. I'm not sure, but is that a risk you want to take bringing him in now, especially with those scores? Like I think you can still buy him in Supercoach. Given he's gone 100-100, he's going to make a tremendous amount of cash and score well over the next few weeks likely, whereas the 39 compared to 100 last week is the scoring difference. It's probably not worth it. Ruben Garrick, similar situation to Kohler, except for the fact that he'll keep his spot in a spot he scores well in. Just continues to find ways to dominate, and he's done that twice in the last 4 weeks, which is, 3 times really in the last 4 weeks, which in the first 6 games, he'd only done once. So that's frustrating for me as a non-owner. If you don't own him and you want someone to cover 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20, then Garrick is your man at that dual position, 648 price before he goes up again this week. Karapani, guys, he obviously earned his spot last week through injuries and Cobbo moving back to fullback. This week, Tony Staggs comes out of this team, and Karapani keeps his spot because he did really well. Both of those guys likely to be back next week, even though they'll have a bye, but in the team following this week. And Josiah will be out of the team, so don't pop him in. Jacob Kiraz, center and wing fullback dual, continues to score well in recent history. That's now, 55, 48, 37, 57, and 62. For a guy priced at 46, that's a really good effort, and he has a terrific buy schedule as well. So expect consistency out of Kiraz right now. He's really warmed into the season, and so have the Dogs. And that right-hand side with Stephen Crichton's great, although he won't be with Crichton next week. Someone who's a bit more risky is that of Isaac Tungo at 565k. So he's lost plenty. He got all the way up to 743 after those couple of massive scores, 86 and 66. And then he hadn't scored a try. Well, he scored a couple in recent games, but that was a shocker, that round 9. Round 8 was a shocker as well. So you look at his scores here, and his low before that 2 of his worst weeks of his career was 31. He has 37, 41, these types of scores. And then when he scores a few tries, he can go into 50s and 60s. So he's priced at 40. Yes, he has a higher break even, but do you trust him against Sharks? I'm not sure. You got Dragons, Manly, Newcastle. Then he has that buy as well, but obviously would play 17 and 20. 13, 14, 17, 20. Is that enough for you at that price? If that's where you want to go, cool. Because you got guys like Manu and Kiraz and Garrick who are all more expensive. So something to think about. Manu has been the best center all year. 54 is the average now. And we know that if Teddy's out for Origin, he'll play fullback in round 13 and he'll be the best captaincy option. Most likely there. So if you haven't got Manu yet and you want to jump on now, it's got Raiders and Cowboys the next 2 weeks, which is really cool. Come back from the bye in round 14. He's got Para, he's got Dogs, he's got Tigers, and the Dragons. So it's an absolute terrific run for Roosters if you were interested in him for sure. I don't think I mentioned Sam Walker before, but he's someone that we're a little bit worried about making Origin. So I don't know if you can buy him right now, but I kind of spoke about that in the previous video. Dom Young at 619 is a very interesting one as well. He's basically has good scores apart from those 2 games. And for a winger, yes, he's going to score a lot of tries, and that's helpful. I think you can ride him all the way up to about 700k, and then see what happens from later in the year. If he's got that lovely run for the Roosters there, you're probably going to want him in your side, especially in Supercoach, which I'm a bit like, oh, how do I do that in my Supercoach team? I have him in the head-to-head, but not my overall. Could it be the same in fantasy? Like if you can get 60s and 80s out of him sometimes, and then the odd game at 40, that would be hectic, obviously, in this run, which is probably what I expect. He's priced at 44. I expect maybe like a 52 or 53 average across this period, and he's not going to play Origin. So that's pretty cool if you need a wing fullback. Dom Young. I should have done that 2 weeks ago instead of Drinky. Anywho, Latrell Mitchell, 697k, priced at 50. If we don't think he's going to be in Origin, he's a really good purchase this week because he's averaging 3 points above where he's priced at right now. And so has a little bit of room to move there. Lower break even. Comes up against Para into the bye. And then you got Titans, Broncos, Manly, which is a pretty good little setup. But again, he could make Origin as well. Do you want to risk that? I'm not sure. but really, really good guy to have. Sua Fa'alongo. So we've got him priced at 27, 384k. He's got 2 good scores now in his 4 games. 42 last week without a try assist. He hasn't got any assists this year as of yet. But good run meters again at 167 after 143 the week before, but he cleaned a few things up. He got some offloads. He didn't miss any tackles. He got some kick defusals, which helped. I just don't think you can buy him. Pappy's likely back in a few weeks, and well, that is all there. And then Dylan Edwards, if you want to go for him this week, cool. If he doesn't make Origin though, Sharks this week could be a slightly harder one to go nuts, but Dragons, Manly, Newcastle could be the time to buy him in round 13 if you want a wing fullback. The scores over that last 11 games has been absolutely spectacular for Edwards. And then the final one, guys, let me know if I've forgotten anyone. I just went through the who's hot, who's not list in each position and picked guys that I thought seemed to be of interest to people for sure. And Tony Francis, just want to shout him out. He's an absolute young guns speedster, and I'm excited to watch him this week. I don't think you can look to buy him, but up against the Broncos, it's going to be a fun matchup. And then we can see what happens if he keeps his spot in round 14 with guys potentially coming back. If he's earned this spot, well, he would have earned it to be in there, but I mean, earned it and going to keep it. Or if it's a 1 week flash in the pan for Tony Francis. Thanks so much for being here for the buy, hold, risk it and sell. I'll go through the quick version later on today. See you, team. Good luck this week.